Hey guys, Monday night, it is upon us. We are live, just turned 8 o'clock. Hope everyone is doing well, and you are listening to Diabetes Chat.
It's Monday evening, 8 p.m, and you're listening to Diabetes Chat.
Hello!
Hello.
Hey Norman, how's it going?
Not too bad. Seen your you doing a topic chat from 8:30 with Open Forum. Well, I could break that any time of the day because I've got COVID.
you will be our perfect guinea pig from past 8, Norm. You'll be able to tell us the lived experience right now, eh?
TLDR, not that bad, but keeping my sugars down is a bit of a challenge.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not nice, is it? Not nice at all. So yeah, Norman has let you guys know if you're listening on Instagram or YouTube. We've got a couple of guys over on YouTube or here. 8:30 topic chat. We're talking about illnesses, COVID, managing diabetes during that time, and we welcome your thoughts, your comments. I think Claire has a couple of questions, and I'm sure it'll just be an open sort of dialogue as well. So now till 8:30 is a welcome chat, and then topic chat from 8:30, and then open forum till we finish later on. Hello, Kez. Hello, Claire. Welcome along.
Hello, good evening.
How are you?
Hey, Claire. Hey, Kez.
Hey.
How's it both going?
Not too bad, thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
How are you, Kez, after your travels? I saw you went to France, right?
I did. It was a bit of an experience, to be fair.
On the boat over the ferry?
No, on the tunnel.
Oh, the tunnel, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It was interesting. From a managing my levels type of interesting, in that I just couldn't keep them anywhere near normal. And then I know it sounds really stupid, but my pump and my phone kept telling me to check the time until the time's changed.
Oh god.
I was like, it's an hour, it's not that big a deal.
Well,
Oh, yeah. I get that with my G7. Whenever the clocks go forward or back, even though like the app knows that there's going to be daylight savings time, when my phone changes automatically, it's like help.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It had an absolute like meltdown. And then coming back, we missed the train because, and I don't really know how this works because we were there, we were definitely on time. And then they were swabbing the cars like they do going back to the UK. And one of the guys was like, like you can't go because like one of the cars has tested positive for something, and then they got the dog out, so I was absolutely terrified. Like, even though I knew I hadn't done anything, if that makes sense, it's still quite scary.
I was going to say, what did it test positive for? A bomb threat or something? Like to get the dogs out?
Yeah, and then they pulled the car behind me over into another bay, and they literally were taking the car apart.
Oh,
so,
God.
Yeah, it was an experience. Not one that I want to relive anytime soon.
I'm going to say it wasn't the dog smelling the insulin, no? Oh, what's that smell?
Well, I did think, like, if anything, like, you've not, like, checked anything on me.
No.
You've just done a random swab of my car, which is fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was bizarre. bizarre.
Oh no.
What were you kind of doing with your sugars? Were they sort of higher or lower than normal? Just curious, because I was out of a pump, so.
Well, we were just because we were walking around all day because we were shopping. Like 1 minute I'd be low, and then we'd stop for lunch, and then I'd be really high, and then we'd be walking around more, and it was all just a bit much.
Roller coaster time. I do love that.
Did you
Yeah.
have any French snacks while over in France?
Any what?
Any French treats? Any snacks? Any delicious goodies?
We drank a lot of coffee.
Was it good coffee?
Good coffee. Ate a lot of stuff. Brought a lot of random stuff in the supermarket, which I don't really know why we did that. And then we went for like waffles and stuff for lunch, and I've never had like cheese and chicken on a waffle.
Oh, nice. Sounds
interesting.
Yeah, so that obviously didn't help either, but it was great. It was amazing.
Kez, I'll tell you why you did that. Because you can.
Yeah.
You're in France, whether it be holiday or business trip or whatever. You're in a different country. Go with it.
Yeah, it was good.
Did you plan it, or did you just like wake up and go, let's go for a road trip to France?
But it was literally like a week or so before. Like one of the girls said, "Oh, well, me and another girl are going to France." And then I asked a couple of people, and then they jumped in my car. So there were 5 of us in the end.
Wow, girls trip, love it.
Yeah, totally was. Totally was. And I didn't go the wrong way around the roundabout. I was really proud of myself.
I always worry about that. I don't drive, but I always worried that if I went to a different country, I'd like try and drive on the wrong side of the road because I'd be so used to it or something.
Yeah. Luckily it wasn't far where we were going to. It was about 4 or 5 minutes away. But I was thinking, am I driving on the wrong side? Because I'm going the wrong way, which is the right way around the roundabout.
Yeah.
That just made it sound confusing.
Well, yeah, because you literally go backwards. Like you go the opposite way. It's very odd.
Well, glad you kept on.
I drove for the first time in another country, and everyone got home safe.
Brilliant job.
You got more guts than me, Kez, because I don't think I could.
So if I said, come on, Claire.
That? Like, we'll let the diabetic drive. Nice fun.
Did any hypos occur on the route, or all good?
No, it was just while we were shopping, so I was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, the hypo while shopping isn't the worst thing. Yeah, there could be worse places to have a hypo, at least.
True.
Yeah.
True. Although when you have a hypo when you're shopping, you just want to buy everything then, don't you? And then just consume
Yeah, I
it all.
literally did. I spent like it was something ridiculous, like €24 in the supermarket, like just on nothing.
It's why they tell you not to go to the shop when you're hungry.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hello, Tony. See you popped on. Hello.
Hello. You okay?
Yeah, and talking about traveling and
Yes,
and stuff. You've been away as well recently, haven't you?
I have. Yeah, we had. We went to Seville a couple of weeks ago. Last weekend. Was it?
Last weekend, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was last weekend. Yeah. So we got some really cheap Ryanair flights.
Yep.
And Airbnb, and just, I mean, literally flew in Saturday morning, flew out Monday morning, really. So it was a bit of a flying visit, but no, it was it was beautiful part of the world, and so it was dead cheap. So we're
So what it's about, isn't it? Nice, like long weekend or whatever, and kind of go see the world and have a cheap flight and accommodation. Happy days. Did linking into diabetes as we my screen's just gone funny. Kes just put #DiabetesChat and tour, making the most of travel short term. Love it. Don't know what, my screen's gone all black. Did how was the airport and stuff? Any sort of issues there with checking
No,
your
no, no. It
sensors?
was. No, it was okay. Birmingham tends to be pretty good going out, coming back. Yeah, it was fine. But I've kind of developed that confidence now, just to wave my T Slim around, and
Yes.
to be honest, it kind of it's a lot better traveling nowadays than before. But last weekend, I mean, literally, I had nothing on me apart from a couple of insulin pens and a spare, some spare stuff for the T Slim. So there's not a lot to take. But obviously, when we go on longer holidays, a couple of weeks and stuff, it does tend to get a bit more stressful, pulling out insulin and all that kind of stuff. So it's okay.
What about you, Kez? Going obviously for today and that. Did you take any extra stuff with you just in case, or a pen, or just?
Yeah, I'm just a bit of a nightmare. So I always have a little bag with me and obviously I could leave it in the car anyway because I took the car. So yeah, I took stuff with me, but it was interesting that going on the tunnel, I didn't even so much as open my boot, and obviously I had syringes and insulin and stuff, and to be fair, it could have been anything.
I can't, because we took the tunnel probably about 5 years ago, and I can't remember being checked at all. It must have been. I think it was just purely showing, purely showing passports and stuff. But yeah, we weren't checked at all. I mean, it literally drove through. Yeah, so it's. I don't know whether or not that's changed post Brexit. Because we went just.
I can't say much for the tunnel, but I know planes have improved quite a lot because there's been a few stories recently of diabetic kids, especially, not being allowed on planes or whatever because they can't go through security because they won't give them alternative scanning and stuff like that. People with pumps. There's been at least 2 or 3 stories I've seen, so I think airports are starting to get the message a bit. I can't say for much for tunnels, but
yeah, I've noticed, particularly with when I used to fly with Omnipods, it was more patchy. Sometimes you just literally fly straight through, and other times, I mean, I've had instances where literally every single Omnipod on me has been taken out the box and then swabbed. They're traveling out of New York a few years ago. I mean, literally, it was every single thing I had on me swabbed. But I think going through the scanners, I used to never worry about the Omnipod that was on me, and luckily enough, whenever I went through scanners, it was always fine. So I don't know, but certainly I'm not going to be doing that with the T Slim. So it's always a pat down and a swab.
Yeah, they didn't even look in any bags. They didn't do anything really on the tunnel. They just swabbed the door handle and the steering wheel, which I thought was quite amusing. And that was it. And then we showed our passports about 4 times, I think, each side. But yeah.
It's okay. You might take your face off and stick it in your bag. By the time you get to the second time, you have to show your passport, so they've got to check it at least 4 times.
Are you sat in the car and you literally just wind down your window?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and I forgot, I don't, obviously, because I don't tend to sit in the back of my car, and I had someone in the back of my car, and I forgot that the windows are darker. So they were like, well, wind your window down. And I was like, oh, sorry, I've never done this before. Soz.
Well, it's all about lived experience, isn't it? How long did it take to get from where was it from? From where to is it Calais?
It was 35 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That doesn't
Not
sound
long.
too bad.
Not
Yeah.
long at all.
Not at all. So it is 8:15. We have our topic chat soon, talking about illnesses and how you manage diabetes and some COVID stuff as well. Let us know when we kick off in a bit your experiences of how you manage your diabetes. And I'm sure Claire and Kez will also say about how we're a community, Pearson community. So obviously we're sharing our lived experiences, and any sort of anything that you take from tonight is please go speak to your team, your diabetes team, to go further, and because people might suggest things or offer their advice or their experience, lived experience, I should say. So please go speak to your team and ask for their guidance before maybe trying something. But it will be interesting because I think at the minute there are quite a lot of bugs going around. COVID is going around quite a bit, from understand, especially in schools. So yeah, and Norman on the panel has COVID, so we'll continue that chat.
My test, right, was a month out of date because, well, they tend not to give them out for free too much anymore.
No,
And it lit up bolder than a British man in a bar fight.
wow.
Like the control line was like this tiny little line, and then like the line with the test was like, "Oh, hi, yes, you're positive, very positive."
I did one last week and I had to read the guidelines because I completely forgot how to do it. Like after can you remember 4 years ago when it was just seemed life, wasn't it? That was the normality of it. Especially
Yeah.
if you're going to work and stuff. But we could talk about that soon and how people.
Well, the thing is, nobody really cares anymore. Like the way it seems, right, is that the only reason I tested was for curiosity, because the only thing that's different compared to like general January crud is the fact that I've kind of got like a bit of the best way I can describe it is like pressure. It's like a headache, but not really a headache. It's like having a headache on the outside of your head. It's really hard to explain. But that's the only thing that was different, and it's not painful or anything like that. But I was like, okay, let's test this to see, curiosity. Turns out it was positive. But yeah, I only tested for curiosity. I wouldn't have known I had it otherwise.
And has anyone else in your household got it, or just you?
No, the correct question is who else in my house doesn't have it. Now, I managed to avoid it 4 times in my house since we started, like in 2019, basically.
This is the first
I've managed to avoid it 4 times. It's the first time I've had it in my house. Now, granted, the variants seem to have got a lot less severe, I'd like to say. There's no one's really dying from it anymore. We're all vaccinated anyway, so it is what it is. But yeah, I seem to have got, I guess, the more recent strain, I would say, because literally the only thing I've had is I've had a very, very mild tickly cough occasionally, and it's like I've got a headache outside my head. It's really weird. It's like there's a bubble on the outside of my head that's like a headache, but it's not painful and it's not really disturbing or stopping me from doing anything. So
yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Managed to get some COVID tests from the pharmacy just in case, But like I said, the tests don't mean anything anymore. Like, no one's making you isolate anymore. Like, I could literally walk to the shop and no one would care. Like, you're not required to wear a mask anymore. So, like, literally doing a test unless you're in some kind of critical infrastructure, maybe like the NHS, nobody cares.
There's no rules, essentially, isn't it? There's no.
That's what I mean. There's no rules. Like, if you do a test, okay, you've done a test. Big wow! Like, unless you're working in some kind of generally health. I mean, I think nursing homes and stuff still don't, like to isolate and stuff. But even unless you're in like the NHS or something kind of health related, no one really cares. There's no like. Someone in my family's work basically said, "Yeah, you've got COVID, so what? Come into work."
Yeah. And I guess it varies in different places, but I think that's the general. If you're
that seems to be the general kind of thing.
If you're fit to come in, then come in, isn't it? I guess.
That's the rule at our place as well. If you're fit to go in, it doesn't matter if you've got COVID. Especially
you're working in the front line, like NHS, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Oh wow, yeah. So here's a question for you then. I've got COVID, but I've got an appointment in 2 days to get my eyes screened. Should I go or should I not?
Depends if you test negative or not.
Oh no, I won't test negative. I tested positive like Sunday. But like, if I, because there's no rules to isolate anymore. When you call their like appointment helpline, there's nothing to say don't come in if you've got symptoms of COVID anymore. So like, do I wear a mask and go? Do I not wear a mask and go? Do you know what I mean? There's no guidance for it anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. That really is the problem.
So like, I could go and no one would even know I'd have COVID. I mean, you know, it's not like I've got a constant cough or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm otherwise normal. I'm probably 80% of what I normally am in general.
Yeah. I guess you could always check in, well, you already tried, but
Well, I was already trying, but they didn't answer the phone. They've got some stupidly small time window of like midday to like 3 p.m. or something that they're open.
I don't know if they do emails or whatever. You know,
yeah, it was just curious because like I'm happy to go, but like, you know, there's no guidance on what to do. I mean, you know, I don't care, but you know, I don't want to get someone ill that, you know, might actually suffer something from it. Do you know what I mean?
It's following the rules, isn't it? And if there's no such rules, then it's up to you as an individual, I guess, to make the decision. I know my local hospital, we had a notification or something a couple of weeks ago, because that cat's dad's been in and out of hospital since last March, and he was in again over Christmas, and he's just come out actually. And we had a message to say that they would like people to wear masks again in the hospital, just like, to avoid spreading illnesses, maybe. But yeah, I don't know what the NHS say. I don't know what that specific hospital may have different. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll have to try and get hold of them during their very narrow window tomorrow and see what they say. But yeah, there's no guidance on the phone or anything anymore because they used to say stuff like, you know, if you've got COVID symptoms, don't come. But I don't really have any symptoms.
Yeah. Who knows? All right. Just look, some messages popped up. I also saw today, Kez, you posted out, didn't you? You posted out, let's have a look, a couple of things today. Where are you, Kez?
I clearly wasn't busy enough today, was I?
I can tell you when you're chilling. A couple of things. You said, does anyone know what special access arrangements are given for UK exams for people with type 1 diabetes? And that was from James. Is anyone here when they were in school? When obviously things may have changed since we're in school and stuff, but were there anything in place when you were in school in terms of exam things? Obviously, each school may be different, exam rules may be different, but anyone just sharing their lived experience of exams, did you have any sort of special sort of arrangements, or did you have your phone on you for the technology or pumps or like
it's well changed since I was in school.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Looking at it,
they wouldn't even let me out for a hypo to get something when I was in exams in school. Now I could during classrooms, I could go to the canteen, but even the canteen staff were like, "We can't sell you this. We're not open yet." I said, "Yeah, you can. I have an agreement with the head teacher," and they'd still do it every time. But yeah, during the exams, they wouldn't even let me out for a hypo.
Wow.
And when I got my testing kit out, one of the what do they call it? Invigilators, I think they were called, moaned at me for getting my test kit out because it made a beeping noise.
Oh my goodness! You've heard sort of horror...
that was years ago. Now I'm guessing a lot's changed since then. But
you've heard horror stories, haven't you, about people taking pumps off them and phones off them, and there's been a bit of a miscommunication between the exam invigilators and stuff. It is quite horrifying.
What am I going to do? Write my exam notes in a text file and load it onto my pump? You know what? It wouldn't surprise me if someone managed to do that.
I suppose you've all heard the story about when I was in an exam and I had a hypo and the teacher bought me a can of Coke. And this was back in the day before there was none of this sort of like, or probably was, but we were never told, you know, take only 150 millilitres or whatever it is of Lucozade or a small Coke or 3 Jelly Babies. It was literally a full can of full fat Coke that I had once during the exam, but that's going back to 95. So it was, you just got taught the basics back in those days, and see you, which wasn't brilliant, but hey ho, we all survived.
Not
But
nice, is it?
No, but I do remember somebody saying once, there was all this furore about phones in school, and somebody said, "Well, what happened before?" And I said, I tweeted back at them, "Well, it wasn't me, but somebody else who was diabetic in the school ended up hypoing in the lunch queue, and he just collapsed, but ended up in hospital, so he missed the rest of the day's school." That's what used to happen. Obviously, that was somebody who wasn't hypo aware, but. Because the problem was, when that happened, his sister was in my class, and a lot of her friends were very worried about it. And I tried to explain what was happening to him, because obviously I knew what had gone on, and she got a bit annoyed the day after and stuff. And I was like, all I did was try to explain to Rachel what had happened to your brother. But she still slapped me, which was interesting. And then my mum and I met him and his mother at the clinic a few months later, which was quite interesting. And you know what I'm like, I brought it up, which was quite interesting. But it seems lots of people just didn't know about diabetes in those days, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you're saying back in those days, well, even when I was in school, and that was 2000s, give or take, they didn't know much about diabetes really then. I'm sure they knew more than back then, but I had an agreement, right, and it literally used to annoy the living heck out of basically everybody. So I was on free school meal tokens back in the day when they used to do those. You walk up, you give your name, and they give you a token, right? Now, I had an agreement with both the canteen and the head teacher that I could literally go to the front of the queue. So, I didn't hypo in the lunch queue. And I got dirty looks from teachers. I got dirty looks from students. I even got dirty looks from new canteen staff sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I just be like, yep, excuse me, thank you. And to be fair, 9 times out of 10, I didn't actually need to skip the queue. But, I was a kid, and, well, what do kids do? If they've got a way to do something, they'll do it.
So you got to realise that for me, when I was at school, I was still on human mixed-tard, so I didn't take anything apart from occasionally hypo treatments to school.
Yeah, I was on. I think it was Mixtard 30. I was on.
I can't remember which one it exactly was, but it was basically 2 injections, and I was on that till I was 30 odd. Well, no, 28 even. But they changed.
How old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
44.
Okay. So 20 odd years ago then?
Yeah.
What about...
I can't remember when I came off it, because they moved me to it not scared's the wrong word, like, I don't know, confused / worried me a little bit, because when I was on Mixtard, they gave me Nova Rapid as well, but they gave me Nova Rapid for emergencies because it was supposed to be rapid. Well, we all know it's Nova Slow these days. But they then moved me on to Nova Rapid as a main insulin, and I was like, I don't really want to use this, because they kind of drilled it into me that it was for emergency use only, and it'll lower your sugar so fast, and all that and that. And then I was on Nova Rapid for years and years. I only moved from Nova Rapid to Lumjev, actually thanks to DiabetesChat, like a year ago now, something like
that. Yeah. You learn these things, and you go speak to your team, and if it works for you, great. That's what it's about.
I never. Back when I was on Nova on human mixed-tard, they never gave me any quick acting insulin. It was just I just had the basics, and told to get on with it as always, which is great fun. But that always seemed to be the way with diabetes. You were trained, and then you got the basics, and then you were just left the hospital, and it was just they looked at your figures.
If you want a fun story about training, I didn't get, well, I did, but that's a slightly late story. I didn't get any training for using the Libra 2 or the Dexcom G7. Now, for the Libra 2, I eventually asked about training. I was like, okay, there might be stuff I don't know. I mean, I work in tech. I'm, pretty damn good at what I do. So it wasn't really a problem. I kind of got the gist of it in about, 30 seconds. But they didn't give me any training. So anyway, I asked for it, and they put me in a group full of old people for that one. So they gave me training eventually for the Libra 2, but then they put me in a group full of old people, and it literally took 3 hours to explain something that should have took about 20 minutes. But I still got no training for the G7 at all, because they're still supposed to provide you training, even if you're going from a different sensor.
But the thing was, I was buying Libra 1s back in the day, and so I already knew what it was. The thing is, but the nurse said you've got to go through the training. It's like, well, kind of.
That's what I mean. So they should have offered it, but I didn't actually get offered it at all for either of them. I had to ask for the Libra 2.
Do you know what made me laugh was about the whole Libra thing was, so basically I was told you've got to self-fund. Wasn't told about any training, basically just got it out of the box and backed it in and got on with it. And then all of a sudden when it was going to be prescribed as the 2, it was, oh, you've got to do this training now. And I was just like, I've been paying for it. Like, I've been using it. Because it changed before they started to prescribe it to me, because I had to do like 6 months or something of funding it myself. So I was a bit like, that's odd.
Oh, I've got an interesting question. Claire, are you still there? Yes? No?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Right, you work in the NHS, right? What do you do?
I work in a nursing home.
Okay, so
I'm a nurse.
you're nursing home. I was just curious. I think you're wrong department for what I'm asking. So I see quite a few pictures on various social medias, right, of nurses or diabetic nurses applying Libra sensors to the patients. Now, that doesn't make sense to me, and I'll tell you why. If a nurse put a sensor on me, right, one, that's not explaining to me how to do it. That's doing it for me. And second, if I'm a patient, right, and somebody hurts me putting a Libra on, I'm going to be less inclined to put a Libra on the next time, because I know it's going to hurt, and maybe I can only do it in the area because they haven't explained it. So why do I see so many pictures of nurses putting on sensors for people? Why do they not say, hey, this is how you do it? If they fail, okay, it's a waste of a sensor, fair enough, but you've got to learn how to do it, because you're only going to mess it up if you do it yourself later on anyway, if you don't know what you're doing. Do you know what I mean?
I've only seen one, and she did actually talk through how to put it on while she was doing it.
I've seen about 4 or 5, but it just doesn't make sense, because if someone had hurt me putting a Libra sensor on, I wouldn't want to put any more on because it would have hurt. So why not give it to me and explain how to do it, and before I do it, tell me exactly what I should do, and then I go and do it.
I guess
I was going to say it's hard because my mum worked in like a dementia care home, and they had to have training on how to put them on, and it's kind of like, what was the lesser of two evils?
It kind of makes sense if you got dementia. I can understand that one. I'm talking sort of people of my age group even. Because I've seen, I think the 2 pictures I saw were people sort of a tiny bit older than me, and then a couple of them were like 50, 60-year-olds.
Could it be that it was somebody who was looking to make pictures, and they weren't, how to put this, they were just looking for a good picture to show diabetes care, and it wasn't that accurate, which I don't think is right as a photographer. It should at least be. But
maybe. I mean, it could have been. But all I know is at least 2 of them, they actually put in the captions that the nurse had put the sensor on. I don't know. It just didn't make sense to me. I mean, I'm not angry about it or anything. It just seems a bit curious to me. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, could it be that they were fairly new? I mean, thinking back to when I was diagnosed, the nurse, because I was just at the age where they thought I was able to do my own injections, but the nurse did the first couple, for me. And
See,
maybe that,
I had the opposite experience. That you've got a bit of, let's say, wisdom years on me. But when I was diagnosed, my nurse literally made me inject her, but she had like a saltwater cartridge in a Nova pen rather than actual insulin. And my nurse made me inject her. I felt bad doing it because I was like, okay, you're a lady with very, very, very thin arms, and you want me to stab you in the arm with saltwater pen. I don't really want to do that. I had to do it because it's part of my training there. But yeah, she made me do that just so I could see how to do it or whatever. And I was like, okay,
interesting.
trusting, yeah.
No, because I never had, like Tony talked about the orange. It was just, I suppose it's because they initially started me off with 4 injections of Mixtard a day, and then went down to 2 eventually, which is the normal. But I suppose they just felt we just got sent into the treatment room and did the injection and what have you.
One thing that they never taught me is I don't know. I've kind of developed it by myself. The way I do injections, obviously, because I'm not on a pump yet, is I kind of poke around, if that makes sense. And if it's weird. You can actually do it if you've got a fingernail and like on your skin, and you'll like if you move your fingernail like around your skin on your hand, you'll feel areas that are like less sensitive that feel less. And I always inject in those spots, but on my stomach. So I poke around with a needle, and wherever it's less sensitive, that's where I inject because then I know it's not going to hurt. And it's like a really weird thing to say, but it works so well. But I haven't had a bruise in literally years.
Interesting.
Because if I've injected somewhere recently, it's going to be a lot more sensitive. So I always go for somewhere that's less sensitive, so I know I either have an injection there or it's healed already, kind of thing. And then I don't get a bruise; and it doesn't hurt.
In terms of what you're saying before about someone else applying a sensor, you just don't know, do you? You don't know the circumstance. But maybe the
true.
person needed confidence with it, whether they're just showing them. I don't know. I guess with me, learning by doing it yourself, then you get to do it for yourself and do it right or do it wrong, and then you learn from that.
Well, I was going to say, I think that would give you the confidence doing it yourself as well. But
you just don't know. You know what I mean? Someone might have needed that reassurance or boost, or you know what I mean. I'm not too sure. Or like Mark said, maybe it was part of the picture that was for the article or whatever, and it's not obviously, I guess, the norm of how people do it, is it? I think most people will apply their sensors. I bet there's some people that have other people, I'm sure, but I think the general population.
It's actually nice to hear different people sort of things. Like me and Mark were just talking about learning to inject and stuff. I got to test on my nurse, whereas he didn't. That's interesting to see, really.
I'm trying to think why. I feel like I can't remember quite, but I feel like I had like I don't know if they
didn't make you inject into an orange or something, did they?
No, it wasn't. I feel like it was like a little pouch or something. Like I either wore round me like a fake sort of belly, I guess, or something. And I can't remember if they had one, and then I had one. Claire, you might know. Do you know what I mean? Like there was like, I feel like it was like something I wore, like.
Well, that's entirely new to me. That
like a bum bag or something. I can't, and I felt like they had one and I had one, and they kind of showed me this is how you do it. I feel like that was one of my first experiences before I actually injected, but I can't 100% remember. It's quite a foggy time, I guess.
I definitely remember, like, because obviously I'd been that ill and I was sat there with the nurse, and we both I think you said, Norman, about it. We both just had one that had like saline in it, and we both did it at the same time, like on ourselves.
Yeah, that was how I remember as well.
Wow. Going back to what we were talking about before about COVID and stuff, we had a few sort of messages come through. Obviously, you do what you need to do. The person that messaged me works in a trust, and he says, I've just heard someone ask about the hospital appointments if you have COVID. I think most hospitals will still advise to stay away until better. His particular trust recommends to stay away. I'd advise the person to check the local hospital guidance. I guess that's what you can do. And there was another comment which I seem to have. There it is. There, I think it's down to personal responsibility, as no one knows other people's circumstances. I would call the appointments, but personally, I wouldn't go and rearrange. So yeah, you know what I mean. I guess normally just keep ringing and see what they say. Like, but
yeah, I thought that, because I mean, I wouldn't want to go out. Do you know what I mean?
no. Like I said, there don't seem to be a rule, but it'd be cool, I guess, to check the sort of.
So I was saying, I don't care. I'll do as I'm told. Like, if I'm told to go, I'll go. But you know, I'd rather not.
Yeah.
Norm, how would you get there? Would you go on the bus or would you drive?
Oh, if you had someone in my house to take me, that's not a big deal.
Yeah, but then I'm just thinking, because if obviously you actually use public transport, that means you're carrying COVID onto public transport.
Which exactly I wouldn't want to do, but like everyone in my house has it already anyway, so I could literally get someone to drive me there. But I'll do as I don't want to go because I don't really want to spread it to anyone else. But like if I'm told to go, I'll go. I'll do as I'm told.
Yeah, I suspect.
I'll try and get hold of them tomorrow. They've been quite busy, but they've only got a stupidly small window to call them. It's like midday to 3 p.m. or something.
Yeah, see what they say. Okay. Okay. Just saw a message. I'll read that later. About a stag do, not diabetes chat related. Before we go to tonight's topic chat, Tony, was there anything in terms of when you were at school exams? Was there any special things in place for you, or did you do anything? Did you have your hypotreatments nearby or anything like that?
No, I can't really remember. It's I took my exams before they'd invented ink, so no, I can't remember. Yeah, I probably had something. I probably had something on me, a Mars bar or something. It was those days when you had Mars bars.
Yeah,
but no, it never.
You were allowed to carry Mars bars.
No, I never had. I think I think the invigilators were made aware, and then that was it. It was I didn't have any.
No,
I didn't have any particular issues at the time, and it wasn't.
Kind of looking around the room now, it's like we're all probably back before CGMs and stuff like that, so it's all like machines where you're not checking every 10 seconds. It's not on your phone flashing or beeping or alarming, is it? So I think I probably had mine like at the back of the room or something, and
I think in those days I probably would have tested before I went in, but then that was it, and so
probably yeah.
Yeah, and
I remember having 4 exams on one day once. That was horrendous. That was horrible.
Well, for the first 2 years of school, I wasn't actually allowed to carry any hypo treatments because they were considered sweets by the school.
Oh, gosh.
And then, because I told this story before, like a couple of years in, there was a diabetic kid that was in reception that I saved because I had extra tablets on me, and this was after I was allowed to carry them.
Yeah.
I told that story on a previous diabetes chat, but yeah, it literally took like a year and a half to actually get that put into place. Because back when I was in school, the head teacher, at least in my school, basically had no power. They had to contact whoever was higher than them to actually get things instated. Because like, you can't carry anything. To be fair, half the time I did anyway. But like, if they did searches and stuff, they got took off me. So
that's why nowadays, like, we had Tara on last week and was talking from a parent's perspective, and she was talking about transitions and talking about putting care plans in place and having meetings and checkups and stuff. And I think in this day and age, it's very organized and quite.
I was going to say it's nice that we've got that now, because like I literally had to go, and I had to pay as well. It's not like I got it for free. I had to go to the canteen, and the canteen staff hated me because they weren't supposed to sell me things outside of like their designated opening hours or whatever. But I had to go get like an apple juice or an orange juice.
Yeah. Here's a question then. Have you ever been anywhere that you've had a free hypo treatment in any form, whether it's full fat Coke, orange juice, jelly babies, Dex tablets. Have you been anywhere before we start this topic chat in a minute? Have you ever had any freebies other than maybe like, or even from like in a peer gathering? Have you ever had anyone had anything for free and not had to pay? Have you? And how was
Yes.
that situation? What did you do?
Oh, it's going back years. I mean, it was. There's a bit of an institution of pubs in the. Well, it's only gone back to the original now, called Mad O'Rourke's in the West Midlands, and I'm sure Claire will know about Mad O'Rourke's Pie Factory. I've never been to the original, but I've been to the two that they had, satellites that they had, and I was at the satellite they had in Worsley, and basically I'd walk down to. From where I lived in Kings Winford down to there to meet friends, and I had a hypo. And basically, even back then, and this we're talking millennium time, there was a nurse in there who was sort of like who was on to put this, was doing the oh, I'm trying to think what it is. Who was doing overtime, and she was serving behind the bar, and I said, I need to get a small Coke, because this is no, it wasn't to millennium, it was a bit more 2010ish, and she, just because I'm hypo, and she said, don't worry, on the house, and she gave me a small Coke, because I was very bad back in the day at carrying things around with me, and she just gave me this small shot of Coke, because I'd always ask for a mix the size of Coke, and sometimes I'd get it free.
Anyone else?
About 2 weeks ago in Lidl.
Ooh, please tell.
So, a long story cut short, there's a particular lady who will remain nameless, who accused me of stealing baby milk about a month before. She seems to target me for some reason, so I quite frequently visit that shop. I don't know why. So anyway, I go around there, I'm hyper, and I pick up this like litre bottle of something. I don't know what it was. It was probably some, because it's Lidl, it was probably some like German imported something or other. Anyway, it was sugary, it was nice, and I opened it while I was around the store. Anyway, this woman's on shop floor instead of the till this time, and she says, "Oh, you're stealing." So she calls the manager out, and it's the only thing I picked up at that point. And the manager comes out, and I said, "Oh, sorry, I'm having a bit of a medical episode. I'm diabetic, and I'm going low sugar, so I'm drinking it. I'm happy to go for the till and pay for it." And she said, "No, it's fine. It's yours. It's on the house."
Wow.
And this lady that seemed to be, let's say, targeting me, she looked absolutely livid. Like, if you can picture like demon red eyes and steam coming out the ears, that's kind of what she looked like. Because that's twice. Because the first time, I said before, she accused me of stealing baby milk. Well, it's slightly out of diabetes talk for this. What I'd done is I'd gone to the self-service till, and the self-service till was like, unexpected item in bagging error or whatever. So because there was no one to like correct the error, I moved on to the other till, and the till she checked, she was like, "Oh, you didn't pay for that. You didn't pay for that." So since then, she's tried to target me, even though I did pay for it and I had the receipt to prove it, and even the manager saw it, and I was like, "Yeah, you're fine." She seems to target me ever since then. So basically, I've got my own way with her twice.
Dorman's up 2-0 there.
Tune it out. And you know what? I guarantee you she'll do it again. She'll look at me while I'm stop floor, like, "Oh, are you stealing that?" or something like that. And I'll just get the manager out, because the manager's like, "Yeah, we see you often enough. We know you're not going to steal anything."
Absolutely. What about you, Kez, Claire? Any moments where you've got a free hypo goodie off someone?
Yeah. I mean, I try not to think about it, to be fair. I don't know if it was free or if they just like forgot because of what happened, but it was obviously when I had that seizure in July.
Oh yes, yeah,
in the shop. And I hadn't paid for anything, but I think we were all just in shock, to be honest.
Yes.
Rather than it being intentional.
It's probably not the nice thing to do after such a dramatic experience, to be like, that'll cost £12, please. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember that. Yeah. What about you, Claire? Any freebies that you've got having a hypo?
Not really, no. other than in the casino last year.
What happened
But
there?
I think the pot was, well, I'd gone hypo and the manager went and got me some Coke. But I don't think you have to pay for Coke there anyway.
Was that with me?
Yeah, you and Rich.
Oh my
When we went
goodness.
to the one in Birmingham.
Well, the thing is, in those kind of places, often if you're spending, and I know you guys
Yeah.
were, from what I've heard, they'll often give you free meals and things to try and help get you spending more.
Yeah, yeah. I actually found out. Actually, we went to the casino last weekend, and they don't in them specific casino places. They do not have full fat Coke on tap. We were talking about it with Philippa last week, I think, or a couple of weeks ago. Because on a few occasions I've gone high and Rich has gone high at the casino. And we thought that it was the free drinks that we were getting. Or it could have contributed. There were other factors as well, like we had a curry beforehand and maybe adrenaline and all sorts. But no, I found out that they do not do that because Philippa said you could always ask for Diet Coke or whatever on bottles and stuff. But they actually said that since the tax thing, the sugar tax, they put like the full fat Coke in bottles in the fridge. And I thought that was quite good, really. I don't know
Tom,
about
can I
bars.
interrupt you there slightly?
Yeah.
I found that Diet Coke doesn't put my sugars up, but it does reduce my insulin's effectiveness. So, like, if let's say I take 10 units and that, will take me from 10 to 0 or whatever, if drink a Diet Coke, like a pint of Diet Coke, it might only take me down 5 instead of 10 or something. So you might have taken normal insulin, but it might have been less effective because you'd had Diet Coke.
My brain can't even think that. My brain's not working tonight. I think that made sense to everyone.
Did it make sense or?
Yeah. My brain's like, what? And to the question I asked before, I got 3 jelly babies and a good selection actually at Haven 2 years ago. I was having a hypo in the restaurant area, just going into the restaurant area, and my wife, I was like, I haven't got anything to my wife, and she ran into the shop thing, and they gave us like a tub full of jelly babies, so they were a nice treat.
Nothing tastes better than 3 jelly babies. Come on,
absolutely, Tom. Yeah. And I remember actually when we went to a night out in a pub, I said I'm having a hypo, and she just looked at me to be like, what? So in the end, it's like, can I just have a Coke, please? I'll pay for it. Like, I was luckily in a state where I could actually function a little bit. But it's interesting, she didn't really understand what I was sort of talking. And finally, news this week, Kez, I saw as well, you tweeted out the DDoc post about the conference, the Diabetes UK professional conference, and they're looking for DDoc voices, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's April, isn't it?
Yeah, April the 17th to the 19th. First time ever that there's DDoc voices scholarship at that particular event. They normally go around to like ATDD, ESAD, them sort of events, but first time at the UK Diabetes UK conference, and I believe you can apply up till
the 18th.
Yeah, 18th of Feb. So yeah, go check it out, guys. It is open to UK applicants only, and they welcome new applicants as well as existing DDoc voices. And fingers crossed, good luck, and hopefully you get in. And what else? What else was I going to say? Obviously, Tad is back in May, isn't it? Is it May? May
May the 25th.
25th, is it?
Yeah.
And it's in Liverpool, which is awesome. So go check that out. Follow Partha on Twitter, X, and also there is a Talking About Diabetes page as well that you can check out their website and any updates there. I think it did say more information to follow soon. So yeah, go check that out. All right.
I'm sure there'll be the TAD tourists as well. And go do a Beatles tour or something like that in Liverpool for those who don't get tickets.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're doing a real diabetes chat on tour one day, aren't we, Tom?
Yeah, I think every week someone keeps mentioning it to me. If
And you know what I'm talking about as well, Tom. So
if anyone wants to organise one, I'm a bit full at the minute. My brain can't cope.
But me and Rich have enough power banks to fuel us, so don't worry. Kez, you've got your hand up.
I was just volunteering. That's all.
There you go, Kez. There you go. Kez is in charge. She can organise it.
Perfect. Bring a power bank. The more, the better.
Yeah. We're actually next week. While we're on the line, next Saturday, the 10th, is the JDRF Discovery Day, and Diabetes Chat will be there doing a little presentation and a bit of a peer support segment. And myself, Rich, and Claire are going down in the car. Tony and Kez, are you going down?
Yes, I am. But
Good.
yeah, but I was going to try and it.
You going to train?
Yeah, because I kind of come back the same day. So
Okay. Cool. Off you did you get a ticket?
oh yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
If
I
not,
applied,
just
I
hey,
just-
we're part of the Diabetes Chat team. We're here for a presentation. Just get in that way.
and Claire's got my T-shirt, so that'll
Yeah.
be good.
Yes.
Yep, it arrived today.
Hey.
We'll have to all wear it and get a picture.
I'll expect it to be ironed, Claire.
She never ironed mine.
I did.
Did you?
I did.
We
I
better-
owned all of ours.
We better move on, quick.
Now you're not sure if it actually was, are you? You feel guilty now.
I expect to see pin sharp creases down its sleeve.
Did you really iron it? Anyway, moving on
I
quickly.
did.
Was the iron on?
Yep. But the problem was it was then packed in my suitcase to come down to Cardiff.
Yeah, true that. So there wasn't any point. Anyway, better move on before Claire. But yeah, we're gonna travel down in the car. Me, Claire, and Richard Friday night. I think we're hopefully staying outside of London. Mark, are you coming down?
I'm hoping to. I've got to sort things out. So I've got to work the Friday, I think, and what have you, because I want to try and keep because I've got to apply for the D-Doc Voices thing. I'm gonna try and get that if I can. It's a week after my birthday when I get a lot older.
Happy birthday.
Yes, I should be.
Hey, happy birthday.
So what we're going to do now is we've got our topic chat. Kez and Claire are here, and first time I've kind of done this, I guess. Tonight, what we're talking about tonight, Kez?
I've lost track now because we've just been chatting.
I know.
I think generally it was there was a lot of talk about COVID and masking, not masking, testing, not testing, impact of COVID, or generally just being unwell. Over the last, I'd say, month or so, there's been a real increase in people asking questions and chatting about it. So we thought we would open it up and have a bit of a chat and see what people are saying.
And obviously, like we said at the start, didn't we, that obviously this is a community chat. Obviously go speak to your hospital teams, your DSNs, your diabetes teams to get the full guidance and recommendation, like what you should do. This is people sharing their lived experiences, and we obviously recommend you guys to go speak to your teams for sort of definite sort of answers, I guess, or it's more about tonight sharing the sort of experiences, really, isn't it? So I know, Claire, you got a couple of questions, and then obviously Cares if you got anything, and then we'll just chat away, really. All good. Go on, Claire.
Okay. Good evening, everybody.
Hi, Claire.
My first question, and you can either request the mic and come up to the panel or tweet the answers below. When you are ill, does it affect your blood sugar levels, and in what way?
I can be first to answer that one, and that depends on the illness.
Yeah.
Ooh, please explain, Norm. Come on.
I can't give you specifics because I don't really get ill that often, but since I have COVID right now, it's been a lot harder to keep my sugars down. I've gone from about 70% timing range to about 40 on average. But for stuff like, standard colds, I even had something that I don't even know what it was, but it put me in bed for like 3 days. It wasn't COVID. It was, I don't know what it was. But then I used about 20% less insulin than I normally do on a normal day. So for me, it depends on the illness. But yeah, definitely struggling to keep them down a bit more with COVID.
Yeah. What about anyone else? Obviously, Tony there, Mark.
I think for me, it's been really tricky since I've been looping. I'd say COVID was probably the exception where I just really struggled with anything where I struggle with maintaining my temperature. If it's too high or too low, will have an impact. So COVID just blew me out of the water, really. But with
That's a really good point.
I found
Temperature.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I'm really hot, I tend to go lower, but with COVID, I was always higher. Oh, there we go. Which was interesting. But with looping, I found that I'd feel obviously unwell, like physically unwell. My levels would be pretty normal, but then I'd have to test more for ketones because my levels were fine, which was something that I struggled to get my head around, if I'm honest.
I found that with COVID, normally before I knew I'd got it, I'd have a load of unicorns all back to back. And that has been because it was like I've had it twice. The first time I got it, I noticed it. And the second time, I actually got COVID. I noticed I've been in for an incredible time in range. Let me do a COVID test. And that's when I noticed I'd got COVID. Was because of the amount of time I'd been in range, like 100% for 2 days or so, which is very rare for me to do. I can do the odd day, but it's normally isolated, and normally I'll have a mad day the next day. But this was like a couple of days with COVID, which is quite interesting.
I was say that's interesting, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, I did actually. Now that you've said that, the couple of days before where it was like perfect, that was the same for me, and then I just felt awful. Which seems a bit. It doesn't seem to make a lot of. Not that diabetes ever makes sense, but just a bit odd.
Diabetes making sense. It never does. It's the thing. As I say, good old Alan and his diabetes fairy, which was quite an interesting thing.
We do have a comment come through from the diabetic Crozzy on Instagram. Says, I get high blood sugars when ill. Same with me, really. And let's see if there's anything on Twitter, X, whatever it's called. Let's have a look. I have just put a post up as well, so people can comment on that if they wish. Nothing coming through yet. But yeah, let us know. When you're ill, does it affect your blood levels, and in what way? Tony, what about you?
I think it depends what's going on, but yeah, stuff like viruses and things. I do tend to run rich, but that's one of the. I tend to be quite pragmatic and kind of not try and blast kind of higher blood sugar levels. I tend to, unless they're really seriously high, I'll just tend to try and ride the storm. Basal increases sometimes, but yeah, it depends entirely what's going on. It's interesting, Kez, you mentioned the temperatures. Yeah, that could ring a bell. Again, it's not something I've ever thought of.
So what would you sort of, when you are ill then, guys, like extending the question, Claire, and do you like, how do you find like you manage stuff? Like, do you eat much? Are you not eating much? Are you drinking? Are you not drinking much? Can your stomach stuff? Was it just vary on the different illnesses, whether it's sickness, diarrhea?
I was going to say that
or-
depends on the illness, I think, again.
Yeah. I guess if you're eating something and then take insulin, say, and then potentially if you're sick, then you throw things back. You know what I mean? And then whether I don't know, do people go low in that instance? Then I'm not sure from your experiences.
I guess that depends if you're on like a pump or something that you haven't adjusted rates for. Because for me, my background insulin is usually enough to sort of handle that. If I'm being sick and stuff, my background insulin is usually fine.
Yeah.
I've heard that if you're sick, you can often, like, because of adrenaline and stuff, you can go a little bit higher as well. Sometimes, depends on the person. I've never really noticed it myself because I haven't had a real puking session for a while, and it's something I've never really paid attention to. But it's something you should.
I did at Christmas. It was awful at Christmas.
Oh, Christmas is always awful.
No, I meant I was ill at Christmas, not like. Yeah,
not self in
really
flick.
No, not at all. I didn't even get to eat Well, I did eat Christmas dinner, but it didn't survive.
But then did you then notice you'd go low in that because you've taken the insulin, or with the hyperclosely bit, it helped a little bit, or what?
Well, so interestingly, I think, was it Mark, you were just saying about what after being sick you'd go high, and then I'd drop like a stone without having done anything afterwards.
Oh, I've done that. I always thought that was weird.
Yeah. So it was a bit like that roller coaster type.
Yeah.
But not even taking into account of having tried to eat anything or drink anything.
Well, I've got a very quick fun story if you want to break it up slightly.
Go on then, Norman.
So it's not my story to fully tell, and Rich isn't here to tell it, so I'll be a bit more vague. But Tom might know. I don't know. Rich smashed his pancreas because he's on a pump. He broke his phone. I won't go into details on it, but he managed to break his phone, and he came to me, and we did an emergency kind of let's transfer everything to the old phone. And luckily, the newer Libra sensors transfer over really quickly because otherwise, that's basically his pancreas, isn't it? And luckily, Samsung do a next day at your doorstep repair service, so got it fixed up and got everything back online in pretty much 24 hours.
The modern era of a pancreas, with a phone, how it.
Yeah, to be fair, it would have scared me. He kept his old phone and all that. Obviously, I don't know why he kept it. Maybe he had some stuff on it, but he kept his old phone. I was like, you know what? Kind of lucky you did that because phones these days are literally glass sandwiches.
I'm surprised I haven't smashed my phone yet.
You still need to get a new phone.
I know, can't afford it, mate. Kez, I've just noticed. Yes, I put the wrong date. I'm half asleep tonight.
I didn't want to like be like, what have you done? Like,
don't worry. 20. When was the 22nd?
It's fine.
22nd was last week, wasn't it? I'm still on last week time. No one else will notice. Brilliant. Was there any other thoughts, Claire? What about you? Did you answer that question? I can't remember now.
When I had COVID, I had terrible problems keeping my sugars up because I wasn't actually eating a great deal. Because it made me feel sick, basically. But again, it depends on what the illness is. If it's a virus, then it'll go sky high and drop really quickly.
Yeah. Not nice, is it? Not nice at all.
What makes everyone drop the fastest, just in general, whether it be like, a virus or, a certain exercise? What makes people drop the fastest?
I don't know.
For me, it's mowing the grass.
Oh yeah, definitely housework.
oh yeah, hoovering.
Yeah.
Nightmare.
Yeah, hoovering or mowing the grass kind of thing. That always makes me drop like double arrows down.
Yeah.
Doing
Oh,
the meds
actually-
round at work.
Yeah. Actually, another one for me, because I'm quite short and don't have a very long arm span, is changing the bed.
Wow.
Which sounds ridiculous, but it's I find it really difficult.
I hear insulin pen dials going up.
That was me.
It's a sound only diabetics will recognise.
Oh yes. I'm needing to take a correction.
And that was at least 20 units, I'm sure.
felt like it. So yeah, well done. That was question 1. I have posted that up with the wrong date, so should you wish to comment, you can. Question 2, Kez. Not Kez, Claire.
Do you find you need to check your levels or ketones more often when you're ill?
I freak out because, yeah, I guess I do. I definitely blood test more when I'm unwell, because in the back of my head I've got like, oh, maybe it's not accurate, maybe it's faulty. Like, I don't know. I'm only about a year in, aren't I? So in terms of tech stuff, so yeah, I definitely test more.
I think
I don't test at all anymore since CGM, but I do calibrate it when I put them on, so they're usually pretty accurate.
It's a good point, actually.
And that's the thing. Like, I do it because I don't trust it, and then it's near enough, like bang on, like it's the same.
Yeah, I find that. I mean, to be fair, I only normally need to calibrate if it's like off when I put it on. If it's accurate when I put it on, it's usually accurate for the full 10 days for me.
So who's using G6s?
Me.
Do you find when you calibrate, when you enter, say for instance, when you calibrate and it's 8.4, it doesn't change immediately?
It's like,
so I've noticed that I then need to recalibrate it and then it'll move. But usually
Well, it'll only do it after 5 minutes anyway, because it'll only calibrate it on the next reading.
Yeah. That's probably what. Good call.
Yeah, I think it's within 5 minutes and the next sort of.
I don't know about the G6, but on the G7 app, it actually says calibration in progress or calibration not used. And if you're going, basically, it has to be like a straight line arrow, or I think a 45-degree one will do at a push. But if your arrow is up, double up, or down, or double down, it won't calibrate, and it'll say calibration not used. But that's on the G7 app. I assume the G6 is similar.
Oh. Every day's a school day.
Absolutely. I it's changed, isn't it? Because I don't really get ill, to be honest, but back in the day before CGMs and all that, I would check my levels more frequently. if I'm ill, and ketones and stuff. But nowadays, I guess it's just there, isn't it? You just glance down, you check it out, and it's just constantly there. Obviously, ketones, check them if you've got the ketone strips. So it's good to have them. Does everyone have ketone strips, a meter? And if not, speak to teams, guys. Do you have?
Somewhere trademark.
Yeah. I have
But
mine
I
upstairs.
don't know. Maybe I'm weird. I can smell ketones.
Mm.
So I don't know why or how, but there's like a certain smell. The
As
best
in
way I can describe it is the smell of death.
And
I
how
don't
do you know that? How do you know? How do you know that
I
smell?
don't, but it kind of smells like, holy crap, this is wrong. I'm going to die. Kind of thing.
The thing is with ketones, you're meant to be able to smell pear drops because that's what a ketone from an organic chemistry side does smell like, is pear drops.
Yeah.
See, for me, it smells like a really, really, really bad fart. I'm not joking. Don't ask me why. If I've ever had ketones, like every breath through my nose basically smells like a really, really bad fart. And I don't know why or what it is, but every single time that's happened and I've tested for ketones, I've had some.
The thing is, for me, because I take so much insulin, I very rarely, if ever, get ketones. I mean, I have actually had a meter reading using my thing, and it said 0, not 0.01 or anything, but 0. And with being on the pump, it's gone a little bit higher, 0.03, but I very rarely get ketones.
Can I ask out of curiosity then, how much kind of insulin you use in a day, if you're happy to say?
Right. When I was now I'm on the pump, it's roughly around 90 units. I could be up to, I think it was up to 150 when I was on pens.
Why the difference then? Are you having less highs, so you're having to counteract it less?
I think it's just because of the way the cannula is. It does just as often when you go from pens to pump, you use less insulin.
Yeah, see, I was told that, and I was like, the main one for me wasn't when they were trying to like say, "Oh, you're using too much insulin." I said, "Yeah, well, I'll use a hell of a lot less when I'm on a pump because I won't be having to counteract so many highs." Because at least with Lumjeb, insulin's water when you get above 15.
Because that's the thing I've noticed is when you go higher, your ratios aren't aren't that good. I find if you go high.
Mine are pretty much opposite. I can near enough take double dose when I go above sort of 15 to 16.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The ratio you need to be higher. You need to. Sorry, I'm a bit low at the moment, so I'm just trying to make sure I sound correct. So if you could anybody hear the Libra beeping in the background, beep, 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 and all that kind of stuff because it's on my phone.
But also,
to be fair, with the recent experience of about 3 people, including myself and Libra, I check that's even right.
Yeah. No, I'm feeling it as well. But Libra, when I'm high, is out. Like it was saying, I was 16 and I was only 14 last night. But I'm having terrible fun with Autosoft 90s, but that's for me when I can get to see my DSM, which is on Valentine's Day of all things, which is going to be fun.
Ooh, it's a date.
Nice.
Yeah. So obviously talking about ketones there, and there are some fantastic resources out there like the Trend. You obviously got the DSN forum guys, like James Ridgway and the Eden team. Obviously go check your team's guidance from your teams. But from the Trend document that I'm reading here, understanding blood ketones, it says that less than 0.6 millimole is normal. 0.6 to 1.5 of ketones means you may be at risk of developing DKA. So test again after 2 hours. 1.6 to 2.9 means that you're at risk of DKA and you should contact your diabetes team or GP as soon as possible. And 3 or higher means that very high risk of DKA and should get emergency help as soon as possible. So this is from the Trend illness document, and there's lots of different information. You can also search DSN forums and they'll have information there. But above all, speak to your diabetes team. And the DSN forum did some information with sick day rules to stay hydrated. Do not stop your insulin. Check if you need to stop any oral meds. Check your blood glucose every 2 hours at least. Check ketones if BG greater than 14, and call for help if needed. And again, they have the information on that page. Just search DSN forum ketones, and it will come up there. I will also share it on our page as well. So yeah, if you need information on that, go check it out or speak to your team. I'm sure they'll help with that. What about you guys then? Have you spoke to your teams about sick day rules? Have they provided you information about it and stuff, or did you know much about it? Have you ever had guidance on it, training on it? What sort of stuff? What I've just told you, is that familiar to you? You recognise them sort of things?
Yeah, I think a lot of my information was through well, I don't think it was DSN forum at the time, but Diabetes 101 posted a lot out during COVID. That was quite useful actually.
Yeah. What about you, Tony's gone down to that. Mark as well?
6 day rules. I never heard anything about it till I did the Russell Hall equivalent of Daphne. And I just watch the CGM, which I do a lot, you see, so that's all I've ever done.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, Claire, next question.
Okay. Do you have any advice for newly diagnosed diabetics in regard to coping with the effects of illness when they're ill?
Ooh, big question. Just ask questions to your team. Like, if you've got any worries, just, you know what I mean, drop them an email or phone call or ring 111. Ask them; they'll put you through. You know what I mean. If someone's recently diagnosed or whatever, or someone just needs refreshing, or if you go on courses like Daphne and stuff, they'll tell you more about sick day rules and tell you sort of the procedures to take. But in the moment of you being ill, you kind of, from my past experience, you kind of forget everything. It goes out of the head because you can't think, or you can't stay straight. You know what I mean? So either write these things down or have it accessible. Take a picture on your phone. I don't know. So you kind of know maybe your total daily dosage to what to take, the percentage of it. Hope that makes sense. Yeah, just have information available or speak to people if you need to. Don't overly panic or don't rush to do something. Maybe my personal advice: don't rush to do something. Find out the information, then do it. Because I guess it's easily, you know what I mean, you're high and you're ill and you want to do, you might be tempted to do more than you need or should, you know what I mean? So just, yes, seek help, isn't it? Don't do it alone. And there's quite a few people who listen, and I know who listen on their, like, live on their own, or, you know what I mean? So I guess it's quite scary if you're ill and stuff, or so, you know what I mean? Speak to someone, and if you're really ill but not ill to go in hospital, see if you can put something in place, like a friend can come over or someone can check on you, or, you know what I mean? So that you're not on your own. That's my advice, I guess.
I think it's about, it's about planning, isn't it? Much as we, much as a lot of us don't like to think about, having to, because I don't know about everybody else, but I'm incredibly stubborn and incredibly independent in terms of my condition. and I don't like, I don't like relying on other people, and it's hard sometimes to kind of put your hand up and admit, or make the call or drop an email. Luckily enough, touch wood, I've not had to do that, for quite a while. But yeah, it's certainly the 6-day rules. I can't, I didn't know about those until kind of 4 or 5 years ago. Before that, I just kind of got by, and it's funny when you have a list of stuff that it becomes so much more obvious seeing it in writings. Yeah, so I've got a printout kicking about somewhere, that everybody knows where it is, and kind of, if we ever need that information, we've got it. But yeah, it's sometimes difficult being stubborn and thinking that I've got to sort this out.
Yeah, totally get that, isn't it? You don't want to be a burden or worry other people, or you think you can do it. Yeah, get that. Kez, I just see you shared that diabetes 101 stuff, haven't you, as well? Thank you.
Yeah, I think it is irritating though. One of my big irritations when I was newly diagnosed, was that I think the first time something happens, like you have ketones or whatever, I think it's natural to panic, and I think if someone is really dismissive of that, it kind of puts you off then asking for help again. So like, I think I got myself into a situation, and I couldn't quite work out how it had happened. I wasn't on a pump at the time, where my ketones were above 2, and then I was also getting conflicting information. Like, someone was saying ring 111, someone was saying don't do anything, like just do this, and I was like, well, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do because I'm getting different advice.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? I remember when I was ill, actually, when I had COVID 2022, it was before CGMs and stuff, before Libra. I wasn't checking my levels as often as I should, and it kind of hit me when I was ill, and I was checking it obsessed then. And I was checking a couple of meters, and one was saying one number, one was saying the other. And when I was speaking to someone on 111, they were like, just trust one of them. But I was like, yeah, but which one? Like, that is not as simple as that, is it? It's like, it's not like one saying 15 and one saying 16. It's a big difference. One saying 10 and one saying 18. You know what I mean? Like, it's a big difference. And it was scary at the time, because you don't know what to do you? Like, do I take that unit? That could be the difference to making you hypo, I guess, or poorly, isn't it? So yeah. Claire, what about you from your side?
I haven't really thought about it. I know about the 6-day rules, and I try to follow them if I'm not very well. But if I was giving advice to somebody who'd been newly diagnosed, it would be, if you're not feeling confident in what you're doing, ring 111.
Yeah, definitely. Because then they will get you through to the right channel, isn't it? Whether it's them on the phone, or whether they get a doctor to ring you back, or whether they recommend you to come into hospital, or you know what I mean, or they might be able to help a little bit better, I guess. Because like I said before, is when you're ill, sometimes, I know from my point, you can't think straight sometimes, so worrying about stuff. Do your hospitals have like diabetes emergency numbers that you can ring. Do they still do that? I don't even know if they do that.
Absolutely not.
No.
No.
Absolutely not. I remember phoning, right, and this is how bad it was and what a state I'd got myself in that same situation, that I phoned the number
Yeah.
for the hospital that is on, like, right on as far east Kent as you can go, which is the only out of hours number. Phoned that and was told, you're not a child, so I don't know what you're going to do.
Well,
You can't speak to anyone. And I was like, me being a child is irrelevant right now. I need help.
yeah.
Like, you know, whether it's a child or whether it's me, like, I still need advice.
100%. You shouldn't be dismissed. You know what I mean? No matter what age or sex or wherever in the country, like, you're ringing up asking for help, you should get it or be pointed in the right direction, no matter what, really, shouldn't you? Yeah. Diabetes Crossy says, yeah, agree about being stubborn. I think listening to your body when ill is so important, and drinking lots of water. Yeah, good advice from a lived experience there. Kind of keeping hydrated, and it's hard, isn't it? Because, like, in times like that, it's like I don't want anything. I don't want any food. I don't want any drink. I just want to mope in my own sort of poorliness, just feeling sorry for myself. But drinking fluids and stuff is really good for you, isn't it? As I said before, from the guidance from DSN Forum. Brilliant. Was there any other questions, Claire, or Kaz, any extra bonus questions?
Only the last question I got really was, do you worry about catching COVID and whether it will make you seriously ill?
I did at the beginning because one of my friends, and he's literally, some people used to call him the Swedish Mark. I think some of you probably heard this story, and this was back way before I could run into Diabetes Chat. He was one of the first people to catch COVID, and he actually ended up in ICU on it with a tracheotomy. So I always used to worry about getting it as a type 1 diabetic. But I think now, I think the strains have got a little bit less punchy, for want of a better term. I've had it twice now, and it's not so much of a panic. But I do think, from some of the research I've heard coming out, we should be careful catching COVID, because the more times you get it, the more chance there is to get long COVID, and especially for non-diabetics, because apparently there's been a huge ticking in adults getting type 1, and some people have thought, is COVID doing something to non-diabetics, not people who don't have the normal gene sequence, to mean that they end up, tricking the body into fighting the beta cells, like the virus does with COVID. That some of us got. I don't know if depends on what you think happens with COVID, and there is, with the way people catch diabetes, because there is that worry out there. I don't know what people think on that, but I was worried in the beginning. Yeah.
I did see quite a few little things coming out about that. People
Mhm.
who don't have diabetes, I don't know the sort of evidence of it, but I did see a few things on social media. I don't, like I said, I don't know the
No.
truth of it, but it'd be interesting. But yeah,
I wonder if they've done any research on it, which would be interesting.
Well, I remember when COVID came, like it came obviously like the Christmas November time before, wasn't it? It was happening, but the UK didn't really act, and then obviously we had the lockdown April 2020, and yeah, it was hard for everyone in so many ways, and I remember for us, we were just expecting Harry, and the rules were changing every day, and at one point we thought I wouldn't be able to be there, and I was, luckily. But it was a hard time, and I went off on a 2-week paternity and ended up being off for like 4 or 5 months or whatever it was. Pretty much the end of that academic year, if I remember rightly. It was scary times, and I remember going out for our walks in the country where we lived and seeing someone across the field, and it was scary. I'd walk the other way, and I was worried for 2 reasons. One, because we saw what was happening, and it was obviously a scary time, but also scared for my child, I guess, as well. But also, thirdly, me and my diabetes, so I was just worrying that maybe with my immune system, if I get it, I could be really poorly. Especially at that time, there was a lot of like it was at its peak, wasn't it? Really. But then I didn't get it till 2022 from my first time, from what I'm aware. I was quite ill actually, and I think I had one vaccination before then. I think if I didn't have one, who knows how poorly I would have been, even though I was quite poorly then. And I haven't had it since. But it really just knocked me for 7 heavens. Like I was just so like tired and drained, and I remember going back after the first one. I was like, I did 10 days or 14 days or whatever it was, and then went back. And then after a couple of days, I had to come back off because I was just like so worn out and fatigued, and I was so emotional. I got upset. I was crying in school. I literally couldn't function, and diabetes levels were high and stuff, I guess, as well. But it was hard, wasn't it? But I was scared. I was worrying, like at the time in 2020, like what could happen because everything you were hearing, like the press conferences and stuff, and then obviously I got it, and you do worry. But also above all, I was worried for Harry because I was scared for him.
Did any of you get long COVID, or even just not quite long COVID? Because there are some people who are still knocked up by it. But COVID went, but you felt tired and whatnot for a while afterwards. Because I found that. I don't know if you could call it medium COVID.
I felt the first time I had it, I felt really knackered for months afterwards.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, and I know my wife, she's asthmatic. She's had it when she had it. Now she's got what's known as whenever she gets a cold, now she has what's known as crackles, which are kind of like the blood vessels in the bottom of the lung kind of tend to fill up with fluid, and so she sounds really, really rough when she has a cold now. And it's apparently it's a thing, it's a known thing with COVID. There seems to be a lot of kind of different side effects and symptoms that have, for a lot of us. I still swear to God that I've not got the same energy as I used to do. I don't know. It's all anecdotal, though, isn't it? I mean, that's the trouble. Everybody's kind of suffering from different little things, but like there's several people. One of our friends, she's had long COVID, and it's literally virtually put her into a wheelchair now. She's had to give up work and all kinds of stuff like that. It's terrible.
Okay, so have you got any more questions?
I don't think so, really. I think I was just thinking about. I think the worst time that I had it was before the vaccine, really, and testing had only just become a thing. But I find it really irritating. So we were talking about this in the office today, actually. And I'm sure, if any of them are listening, they wouldn't mind me saying. There's 3 or 4 of us in the office who would have been considered, you know, at a higher risk. And we were talking today about the issue of, you know, at times some people, now that there's no requirement necessarily to advise people that if you've got COVID or to stay in or whatever, you know, they're choosing to come into the office and spread that. And we were having a bit of a chat about how we felt about that. I think it's really irritating because me personally, if I've got COVID, I tend, you know, or if I've had it or I'm just not particularly well, I wouldn't necessarily go into the
No.
office. I'd stay
No,
at
I
home
wouldn't
and not
either.
spread it. So I find that really difficult, and not very fair, actually, if I'm honest. I know we've got vaccines and stuff now, and you know, it's, I don't know. I just think if there's a choice, and you're making a choice to go knowing that you're positive, I don't think that's particularly fair.
No.
I think that's the thing, though. It's certainly opened, you know, that having that mindset, having that, you know, that if you like more social mindset of, you know, I'm full of COVID, so I'm going to stay indoors, like I would have done, you know, 2 years ago or 3 years ago. But even now, so I'll not go into the office now if I've got a cold, whereas previously I probably would have, you know, just stuck it out. It's only a sniffle. Everybody's got colds now, but you know, it's about being social, isn't it? It's about being considerate of other people, and for me, spreading any form of germs. It's better to be, it's better to be safe than sorry. I mean, I know chances are I'm not gonna, pop me clogs due to having a bit of a sneeze and stuff, but somebody who I encounter may do. So again, I don't know.
What I
think
did find interesting actually is it, you know, almost the opposite to that is there'd been some conversations with schools recently, or like parents that we're working with and things like that, and you know, a couple of them had said that we phoned the school and said the house has COVID, the kid has COVID, and they've been like, well, as long as they're well in themselves, even if they're positive, send them in. I was like, okay, are you sure? Like, is that actually what they said?
Yeah. It's. I think if you're poorly, I think you should stay at home. But I guess I understand why people do go into places if there's no set sort of rules, guidance. You know, like people might worry about having the time off. Can they afford to have it off if they realize some places may not support that? You know what I mean? I don't know. Whereas obviously named COVID times, there were them set rules and guidance, wasn't there? You had I think the general consensus here is obviously if you're poorly, then you know what I mean, stay at home, and I support that. But I guess it comes down to that individual, doesn't it? That workplace, that employer, the government's rules. Has COVID just become like a bug? You know what I mean? Like when you have a cough or a cold, you know what I mean? Like from what I understand, there's no set guidance now, is there? We're talking a little bit before about it. The severity is worse than other illnesses, so it seems, but there's no ruling, so it seems, is it?
Yeah, that's the issue though, that there needs to be, because as I say, there are a lot of things that can happen if you do get long COVID. And from what a good friend of mine who runs a podcast, who's doing a lot of research on this stuff, pretty good deep end, is the more times you catch COVID, the more risk you put yourself at. So I mean, and if it is found that there is this extra risk of diabetes, would I want to get this? And I don't think we need to realise it is still out there.
Yeah.
And I think it's just something that I don't want to risk, because there are still people who are ending up in A&E.
Yeah.
It is a coronavirus, and the common cold and
Yeah.
flus are both coronas. That's what a corona means. It's a crown. And sometimes strains of those are deadly. We've just got to be careful, because every time one of these things, you catch one of these things, it slightly mutates.
Yeah.
And it's literally like spinning a wheel. You don't know what that could do.
I think that's why we had that text before. I mentioned before, because I think in Chesterfield, where I'm local to, there is quite a high case of COVID, and was it norovirus? Is it? So it's on top of everything else.
It's not nice at all.
Yeah. But obviously, you don't see it as in the news anymore as it used to, is it? It's obviously still there, it's still happening, and it's still people getting still seriously ill, and maybe we think about it more so, I guess, because obviously of our condition. Maybe we're more aware or wary, or yeah. But tonight's chat's been really interesting to hear it. In the couple of years 2 years we've been doing diabetes chat, we've only touched upon it briefly, I guess. I guess because 2 years ago people were trying to move away from the discussion because it was constantly being talked about. But reflecting back now and talking about illnesses and COVID and how it's impacted people, and yeah, interested. And it came about because Kez mentioned it in our group chat a couple of months ago, didn't you, Kez, about basically it came from someone, we won't name who, but mentioned about long COVID, wasn't it? So it was interesting to talk about tonight and hear a little bit from the community. I hope that you found it a little useful.
One thing I want to talk about, does anybody take any measures to try and stop catching COVID? Like this friend of mine who's doing all this research does recommend to get what's called a HEPA filter. And apparently they've got them all in the Houses of Parliament and things like that. So, and they aren't that expensive, but it's just got to be cleaned regularly. The HEPA filters, quite good.
What is that, Mark?
A HEPA filter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can get you onto his Twitter, because he did some things about what to do with around Christmas to try and help with not catching COVID. I need to try and find it, and I would have put it in the posted tweets at the top of the thing, but I haven't done that yet. I've been meaning to, but it is some sort of things like HEPA filters and things like that are pretty good, and also CO2 meters, because apparently that can tell if there's because there's more CO2 in the air apparently, or something like that. I can't remember the exact words, so don't quote me on that one. But it is a useful thing. I'm just trying to find his thing which he did for Christmas. I'll try and find it, because it was just to like try and help people.
Yeah. Well, if you find it, share it and people can have a look. So next week we have Alyssa, who will be joining our chat with Claire and Tony, I believe. And they'll be talking about Alyssa's journey with diabetes, talking about hybrid closed loop. She uses hybrid closed loop hyposeizures, so that might be of interest to you, Kez, to listen live or on podcasts. and her epilepsy as well. That'd be really interesting to see a little bit about epilepsy, what happens with that, and the impacts of diabetes potentially if there is any. Then we have our research event the following week, which we will not be on Twitter. We'll be on YouTube for that one, and we'll have 7 speakers, I believe, and they will be sharing their research, diabetes research, and some exciting stuff. And you'll be able to ask questions, and you'll be able to see them live on camera, and you'll also be able to see their slides as well. So that's good. And then thanks, Mike, for sharing that. And then Philippa and Rich will be following week 3 of next month with Professor Nick Oliver. And then Kez and Mary will be hosting the open forum the last week of the month, which we don't have a topic. So if you do have a topic in mind, then you can just send a message to Kez or Mary or #DiabetesChat, and we can chat that in the topic hour. And if not, Kez, I guess we could do a poll near the time, can't we, to see what the community wants to talk about. So yeah, because that's where tonight's one came from. We had a couple of messages about COVID and illnesses and time of year now where people are getting poorly and stuff. So I hope that you found it useful. Thank you, Claire and Kez, for your amazing hosting. And above all, tonight was just to share our experiences, come together, learn a few things, but above all, like we say, is go speak to your diabetes team, go get your team's advice to help you. Talked a little bit about sick day rules, and I mentioned about the DSN forum. I talked about Eden and the guidelines and documents, the visual infographics James and the team have done at Leicester. We talked about ketones a little bit, and go check the documents out. I see James is there. He might even tag it in to us later on. And again, go speak to your teams, as they will be the best people to speak to for your diabetes care. So yeah, brilliant chat. I hope that you found it useful. Was there anything anyone wanted to talk about in this sort of last segment of?
I was just going to say, actually, while we were on the chat, I came across a person who had posted that they'd just been diagnosed. So
yeah,
I shared Chris's post and tagged obviously the GB doc and diabetes chat. So if anyone wants to get in touch with Chris and just show a bit of support, that might be nice.
Absolutely. I think I shared it. Did I share it? Let me see.
So.
Let me reshare it. Yeah, I saw his post, and it's interesting, isn't it? You do wonder how many people get diagnosed each day. I don't know if there's a statistic out there. James might know. But it's what you say, Kez, that club that we didn't want to be part of, but now we're part of it. There are fantastic places for people to go to if they want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Facebook, Twitter, whatever, Instagram communities and stuff. There's offline ones. James does his Podders group. There's also other ones. DDoc community, the GB doc, sort of nation hashtag, I guess, as well as the community GB doc. But people just put GB doc, and you can just reach out to people all over social media or doc for the diabetes online community. So many places that you can reach out. So yeah, another club member, Kez. All right. Was there anyone that anyone wanted to say, add to tonight's chat? You're more than welcome to join us. If not, we can wrap up, have an early night, and rest up for the week ahead, whatever you get up to.
I think I've got a bit of a stubborn reading going on, so I'm going to head off, guys. But
so have I, Kez. Mine's really high at the minute, and I have taken the correction you heard before, probably, but
Yeah.
still. So after the call, I'm going to go check my ketones actually, and see what's happening. I've not been.
I mean, that's definitely
well.
far more sensible than what I was going to do, which was run down and then run up 2 flights of stairs.
Diabetes chat. Do not advocate
got
for that.
more energy than me, Kez.
Hey,
You've definitely got more energy than me. I couldn't do that.
well, I use the term run lightly.
Yes, I'm going to send you a thing that's some. There's a lot of help dropping blood sugars on Instagram, which is like some aerobic exercise, so basically some aerobic exercises to drop your blood sugar. I'll send it through Twitter for you because it's a Twitter reel, might help you and stuff.
Cool. I've just about managed to work out how to get my temp target to work while I'm doing my rowing training on a Wednesday evening and a Sunday during the day. But it means that I'm sat in a temp target for about 4 hours, which isn't great.
Kez, did you speak to Joanne?
Yes.
Regarding the rowing?
Yes. Yes.
Well,
we've been messaging, and it looks like I'm going on tour, so I'm well chuffed. Thanks for that.
Wow.
I'm going on a little trip. Going to hopefully do a little swap over.
Fabulous.
Yeah, it'd be good fun. Good fun. Because most of the people that I've spoken to about sport and stuff, it's been like they're runners or they're cyclists or or swimmers even. But that's the first person who's actually done rowing, so that was quite nice.
Yeah, from what I can gather, she's only been doing it about a year and a half. So a year again. But it does look fantastic. To live near the sea and be able to row. That's something I'd love to do. It was well jealous.
Yeah, there were some amazing photos that were posted, weren't they? Just the views were just like wow.
When you row, Kiss, do you keep your pump on or what happens?
Yeah, no, I do. I keep mine on. Yeah. Because my thought is that because it is a slide seat boat, a 4 or a 2. I'm even if I fall in, I'm not going to be in the water long enough to worry about someone's going to come fish me out, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've not had. Although I did take it off when they were racing the champs last year, and I left it in a boat because we decided to go for a swim because it was so hot. I didn't think it would survive that like for half hour or so. And someone had like disappeared with it, which wasn't very helpful.
Not good.
No. Luckily, well, they thought someone said to me, "Whose is this calculator?" I was like, "It's not a calculator." But yeah, interesting.
Brilliant. All right, so have a great week, and we will see you next week.
Shall we finish with some blood sugar bingo?
Yeah, if you'd like to share your number, there's no pressure to do so. You can either on the panel.
If there's a draw, we can use ketones as the surprise question.
What would you be going for, the highest or the lowest? In that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know.
So if you want to share, you can hashtag diabetes chat. You can request a mic, come say hi, and tell us your number. There's no absolute pressure to do so. You can just say a random number if you want. You don't have to say anything at all.
Well, I 5.1.
5.4.
Okay, you too.
7.9.
Happy days.
I'm 8.7 going down.
You might not want to do that running on the stairs then.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to do it.
Or no bed making. No making your sheets tonight.
Sheets on. I'll probably get lost in them and not come out.
Brilliant. Let's see if there are any messages before we say goodnight. And I'm not in a good number, so I'm gonna go check my ketones, my blood machine and ketones, because I am not doing well. But I have been poorly like the last couple of days, or like and stuff. So I don't know if it's that. I've taken correction tonight, but it not seeming to work. But I'm in the late teens for sure.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So have a great week, guys. Look after yourselves. And Tony and Claire, we'll see you next week with Alyssa. Thank you so much. Thanks, Claire. Thanks, Kez. And we'll see you soon.
Next week's our 2-week anniversary, isn't it, Tom?
Oh my god, yeah. Next, so right, okay, before we go. So next Monday is our 100th diabetes chat. We've done 99. Tonight is our 99th in 2 years. And next Monday is actually our 2-year anniversary since I started diabetes chat. So incredible that we've made this journey together and made friends from all over the world, and hopefully that you guys have taken a lot from the community and it's helped you, and maybe next week we can chat more about it and share what diabetes chat means to you, what you've enjoyed, what you found helpful, and we can kind of reflect back in the 2 years. And I was hoping to get like some special guests and we could like get some old guest speakers, but I've just been so busy with stuff. I just haven't had the time. But we do have Alyssa, and it will be absolutely amazing. But yeah, come join us next week for our welcome chat with Claire and Tony, and we can reflect back. And it's mad though, because like to think 2 years ago I was literally sat at home ready to talk, and look where we are now. You just can't get rid of me now. I just keep talking. I can't put the phone down now. But yeah, it's been great, and we can talk next week, can't we?
Yep, definitely.
Diabetic Crosby Sex 9.9. She says, have a great week. And Nat says 81 mg, which is 4.5 millimole. Thank you, Nat, for sharing that. And that's what I love about diabetes chat is we get people from all over the world, and Nat, I believe, is Paris, France, where Kez went last week. You never know, you might bump into each other when Kez was shopping. Who knows? And Nat is a fantastic advocate for supporting We're Not Waiting, and Nothing About Us Without Us, and all the DDoC amazing stuff. So go check out Nat and her stuff on Insta and her Twitter page. And we'll see you next week. Have a great week. Thanks, guys, and cheers, Claire. Thank you, Kez.
Have a good week.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.
Right.